everybody, and welcome back. Who's happy to be here? Raise your hands. Okay. No, not that dumb. Okay. Um, First, welcome back. Thank you for being here. Or should I read it? Hi, everyone. Welcome back, and thanks so much for being here. Okay. All right, look, one thing is clear from this morning's theater at the New York Stock Exchange. Democrats want to avoid defaulting on our country's debts. Meanwhile, Speaker McCarthy continues to bumble our country towards a catastrophic default, which would cause the economy to crash, cause monumental job loss, and drastically raise costs for the American people. He went all the way to Wall Street and gave us no more details, no more facts, no new information at all. I'll be blunt. If Speaker McCarthy continues in this direction, we are headed to default. The main way we've avoided default in the past is to avoid and reject brinksmanship and hostage-taking, and instead work together in a bipartisan way. Speaker McCarthy, in his speech, invoked President Reagan. Ronald Reagan was never as reckless as Speaker McCarthy is being. Ronald Reagan said, "Debt ceiling brinksmanship threatens the holders of government bonds and those who rely on Social Security and veterans benefits. The United States has a special responsibility to itself and the world to meet its obligations." Speaker McCarthy, you said you wanted to go to the stock exchange because Reagan did? Well, listen to what he said. Listen to what he said. And despite the Speaker's stated concerns about costs, nothing would do more to raise costs for American families than an unnecessary Republican default crisis. Speaker McCarthy should know that when you insist on attaching things to the debt ceiling, something President Trump never did, and which Republicans under Trump never did, you risk a catastrophic default. Speaker McCarthy insists on cuts. Well, there's a time to discuss what kind of cuts folks are looking for or taxes they want to raise. It's called a budget. It shouldn't be part of this conversation. That kind of discussion, the cuts, belongs in a discussion about the budget, not as a precondition for avoiding default. To date, after countless requests, Speaker McCarthy has yet to produce any concrete plan as to the cuts he would make. One that details the specific cuts he wants and that has the support of 218 Republicans in the House. Democrats have called on Speaker McCarthy over and over and over. Show us your plan. I think you've heard me say that before. Well, what we got today was not a plan. It was a recycled pile of the same things he's been saying for months, none of which has moved the ball forward an inch. He has not shown us a real plan. And when I say us, I don't mean me or Senate Democrats or even his own caucus. I mean the American people. Americans deserve to know what he wants to cut, when, and by how much. In specifics. Talk about cuts, you have an obligation to say what they are to the American people. And I'm not alone in thinking this. This weekend, a member of the House leadership even said he believed, quote, "At this point, there's no choice for Republicans and the Speaker to bring forward some type of proposal." He's right. I wholeheartedly agree. We sure didn't hear that at Wall Street this morning. Amazingly enough, this one really knocks my socks off. Amazingly, one of the few specifics Senator McCarthy has presented is his terrible idea to kick the can down the road for just 1 year and undergo the same crisis again. Why would anyone want to undergo this crisis again and again and again? President Biden and I are happy to meet with the Speaker when he has something to talk about, a plan. I'm sure most Democratic leaders are willing to meet with him, but we first need to see his plan so we can start there and work to avoid catastrophic default. As I said, if he comes there without a plan, what are we going to talk about? The furniture? The solution here is straightforward. Republicans should work with Democrats in good faith to avoid default together, just as we did under President Trump, just as what President Reagan talked about. No blackmail, no brinksmanship, no default. Meanwhile, House Republicans are steering us directly into a default and catastrophic collapse of the global economy, including skyrocketing unemployment and huge cost increases up and down the line for the American consumer. So, today, I heard the speaker quoting a great Yankee, New York Yankee. Babe Ruth, he said, "You can't just beat the person who never gives up." First, Speaker McCarthy, don't quote a Yankee to me in New York City. Second, he's right. He's never given up. That's because he's never even started. No plan, no progress, no persistence. So when it comes to the recycled rhetoric of his non-plan, I think there's another Yankee who said it best. It's deja vu all over again. Yogi Berra applied to Speaker McCarthy. Deja vu all over again. Show us your plan. Work to deliver for the American people, Speaker McCarthy. It's time for the Speaker to stop the partisan games and political grandstanding and show the American people his plan and how he's going to get the votes to get there. So in sum, to sum it all up, Speaker McCarthy plays a risky and dangerous game when insisting on imposing severe cuts which would hurt the American people, raise our prices, and threaten our economy before we avoid default. In addition, he can't even reveal what those cuts are. If Speaker McCarthy doesn't change his course, he could well take this country to default. Ready for your questions? We'll take them first on this subject. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. I mean, at this point, it seems like neither side is relenting. So what is your plan B for a clean debt limit increase?
Plain and simple, as it's been done in the past 3 times under President Trump, under President Biden. Democrats and Republicans came together, bipartisan, and avoided default with no preconditions, no brinksmanship. That's what's going to happen. That's what should happen. That's the best thing to happen. Yes. Yes. No.
Do you expect to wait for Speaker McCarthy to see what he's going to do in the House on this, or do you expect to move a bill in the Senate on a parallel track?
Well, you know, we still, the bottom line is we're waiting to see McCarthy's plan. That's the next step. He's the one who's holding up us avoiding default because he says he wants cuts. Show us your plan. I think it's a mistake to do that to begin with. As I said, so did Donald Trump. So did Ronald Reagan. But if he wants to do it, he has an obligation to show his plan. That's the next step. Chad.
Thank you. If he puts through his plan, he puts forth his plan, gets a vote on this, as he promises to do in the next 2 or 3 weeks, that is their plan. Will you then receive that, even though there's a lot of things?
Well, let's see. Let's first see the plan, and second see if he can get his 218 votes. Got to see what it is.
On another topic.
Nope, not yet. I'll come back to you. I promise. Yes. Bolton's on topic, so you can be on topic.
Have you gotten any further guidance from Treasury Secretary Yellen as to when the X date might be?
No further guidance than what she said publicly. Yes.
Have you had any conversations at all with the universe of Republicans who might be willing to support a clean debt ceiling hike once it gets to the point?
I'm not. Any private conversations I've had with Republicans, I have to keep to myself. Yes.
Hi, Leader Schumer. Some moderate Democrats have expressed interest in working with their counterparts on an alternative, a plan B. Would you be comfortable if they went ahead with that approach on their own?
Look, I think we have to see a plan from Speaker McCarthy. He's the one holding this up, not the others. We got to see a plan from him. Yes.
I'm wondering if you think that Leader McConnell has a role to play here if McCarthy can't get 218 votes on a budget.
Well, you'll have to ask Leader McConnell that. Okay, off topics.
I knew they'd have good questions on debt.
And they did, and they did.
On Senator Feinstein, do you have any more clarification about when she might return? And if not, walk us through what the process would look like to put a temporary replacement on judiciary. Republicans have indicated they don't want to make that.
Okay, well, look, I spoke to Senator Feinstein just a few days ago. She believes she will return soon. She's very hopeful of that, and so am I.
What about, you say
Well,
you have
she's
temporary
hopeful of
replacement
return.
this year.
She's hopeful on returning soon. We think the Republicans should allow a temporary replacement till she returns. Yes, 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 yes.
Is there any
Oh, you're next.
indication of who that might be? Is there a senator?
I'll have to talk to my caucus.
Does that mean you will not move forward with trying to replace her until you've given her more time to?
Well, as I look,
Are
let me.
you confident that you can get 9 Republicans to support that?
Well, let me just say, as I said, I spoke to her. She's hopeful she's going to return soon. I am hopeful she's going to return soon. We should have a temporary replacement until she does, and we hope Republicans will join us in that. Yes.
On the work requirements, are there any type of welfare reforms Democrats would support?
Well, let's wait and see his plan first. Yes.
So to appoint a temporary replacement to this committee, you can either do it by unanimous consent, or there could be 4 votes. Would you only do it if it's by unanimous consent, or would you use floor time to appoint a temporary?
Look, as I said, I hope the Republicans will join us in making sure this happens. It's the only right and fair thing to do. That's the correct thing to do, and we hope they will do it. Yes.
Have you had any conversations with McConnell over this potential vote on?
Well, he's just back today, and so I would like to talk to him about it. Yes. I haven't discussed it with him yet. I was respectful of his time away. Yes, next.
Debt question, actually.
Oh,
You moved on before I got to
you were the first one up.
So,
Yeah, Garrett. Garrett.
You said that you will meet with, you and President Biden will meet with McCarthy after he has a plan. Does he have to pass his plan through the House, or does he just
Well,
have to present a
let's see what the plan is. The first step is for him to come up with a plan. Let's see what it is. Let's see if it has a realistic chance of getting 218 votes. Let's see. Yes.
Just to clarify, is it still your plan, though, this week to put forth a resolution to replace Feinstein temporarily?
I'd like to do it sometime this week. Yes. Now, it's only fair. It's the right thing to do. Yes. You.
How concerned are you about the backup in judicial nominees that this is causing and the slowdown in this?
Well, I am concerned, and it's obvious, the real fault lies with Republicans. If you look at past Senates when Republicans were in charge, there has never been this kind of stonewalling of nominees who are qualified, who have good credentials, et cetera. So, yeah, I'm very upset with Republicans in terms of that. It shouldn't be a situation where it depends on one person, and that's how it's been in the past. Yes.
Are you confident you'll have the votes to confirm Susie Wu to be Labor Secretary?
Well, I'm talking to our caucus, and she's a great nominee, and I'm very hopeful that she will pass. Yes. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Garrett.
Thank you, Tony.